Iruvan Saranai. Good evening, Venerable Mahasangha, Sayales and brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today we will be talking on a new group of couplets, the Āsavagocchakaṃ, the intoxicants or taints cluster. So before we move on to the Āsavagocchaka, let's look at how Āsava has been described in the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma. The word Āsava means literally that which flows out. In Pali, the word denotes both pus oozing from an abscess and intoxicants which have been fermented for a long time. The defilements classified as taints are called āsavas because they are similar to oozing pus and to fermented intoxicants. The commentaries state that the āsavas are so called because they flow right up to the topmost plane of existence or because they flow up to the change of lineage, which is the Gotrabu Chitta. So we will explain this later. Of the four taints, the taint of sensual desire, that is Kāmasava, the taint of attachment to existence, that is Bhavasava, these two are Lobha Chetasika, the Chetasika of greed, directed in one case to sensual pleasure, that is Kāmasava, and in the other to continued existence, which is Bhavasava. The taint of wrong view, that is Ditthāsava, is the Ditti Chetasika. And the taint of ignorance is the Chetasika of delusion, which is Moha. So now let's look at how the Atthasālinī describes it. In the intoxicant group, they flow. Therefore, they are called intoxicants. So, this flow is described in two different ways. One is, it is meant that they stream forth and continue to flow from the eye, from the ear, etc., and from the mind. So, what does it mean? So, we take various inputs into our mind by seeing things, by the sense of sound, then smell, taste, physical touch, and also various kinds of thoughts. So we get various inputs, and based on those inputs, we generate either wholesome consciousness or unwholesome consciousness. Now, in this case, we are referring to the unwholesome thoughts that we generate. So these āsavas are generated due to various inputs that we receive from the 6 senses, the 5 physical senses and the 6th mental senses. So that is why, in one sense, they say that these āsavas flow from the eye, ear, nose, etc. On the other hand, if you take in terms of Dhamma or in terms of phenomena, from if you consider the chitta viti or the cognitive processes, these āsavas are constantly there, either in a very obvious manner in the unwholesome chitta, or they may be suppressed when it comes to the generation of wholesome chitta, because we have not eradicated them or eliminated them completely. They are lying dormant, and whenever the opportunity arises, they spring up. So they are there until we reach the Gotrabu, the change of lineage. So this change of lineage, although they mention Gotrabu, we can also consider the Vodana Chitta, because now when it comes to the Gotrabu Chitta, what happens? So Gotrabu is where it is now about to go into the Magga Chitta. So this is the wholesome Chitta that is just before the Magga Chitta. So until that point, these asavas are flowing. But once the Gotrabhu Chitta comes, thereafter it's a Magga Chitta. So the defilements are basically cut off at the next stage, at the Magga Chitta stage. So this flow is there from the Bhavanga right up to the Gotrabhu, or the change of lineage Chitta. Thereafter, when the Magga comes, these are gradually cut off. So from the Sotapatti until the Arahant stage, they are cut off in various degrees. Then again, it is explained as a flow with respect to Okasato. That means the extent of space. So right from the lowest form of existence, which is the Apa, the Satara Apa, the lower realms of existence, right up to the highest existence, which is the Arupavachara, or the immaterial sphere. So that is called the Bhavago, the highest existence. So from the bottom to the highest existence, these asavas are there. They flow right from the bottom to the topmost existence. So in that sense also, it is called as a flow. It is termed as a flow. So they basically encompass this entire Dhamma phenomena and the extent of space. So when it comes to Dhamma, as far as the Gotrabhu Chitta. So this prefix A here is given in the sense of including or enclosing within or encompassing these within these Dhamma and Okasa, phenomena and space. So that is the prefix A in the Asava is to show that it is including within these two terms, that is the Dhamma and the space, extent of space. Now there is a further description in the Atthasālinī. Or as liquor and similar intoxicants are called or asavas because of the characteristic of fermentation for a length of time. So certain states which are like these intoxicants are termed asavas. Now, when it comes to liquor and certain similar intoxicants, what happens is with the process of fermentation, that means the longer you fermentate, the longer the period of fermentation, then the stronger or the more mature, the more better the liquor becomes. So likewise, asavas are also dhammas, mental states that are lying within this cognitive process for a very long period of time, and they are constantly being fermented. So what is this process of fermentation? So basically, we take all kinds of input, as we mentioned before, from our 5 physical senses and from the mind. We keep on generating all kinds of thoughts due to these various inputs. So what happens in the mind, especially when it comes to defilements, is that there is a tendency, the longer that these defilements remain, the stronger they keep growing, depending on the inputs that these defilements receive. And they become more and more stronger. So unless we do something to either make these defilements weaker, or we do something to completely eradicate them, the natural tendency is for them to keep on becoming fermented with time. So the normal tendency of the mind is always prone to generate defilements. So it is very difficult for us to generate wholesome thoughts. We always tend to by default, tend to develop unwholesome thoughts. So this is the problem with asavas. The longer they remain, the stronger they become, and it becomes harder and harder to get rid of them because they keep becoming stronger with time. So that is why they are called asava, because they are similar to these intoxicants. So for this reason, these mental states that are termed asavas are worthy of the name asava, because they are very similar in their nature to intoxicants. And Lord Buddha has mentioned in the Anguttara Nikaya, Bhikkhu's first point of ignorance is not discerned, such that before this there was no ignorance. So this samsara is a very long period of time where you can't find a point, beginning point or an ending point. It's such a long period. So that is why Lord Buddha has mentioned it in this way, that you can't find the first point of where the ignorance began. So that is a very good example to say how long these asavas have been in this process of fermentation. Then again, they are called asavas because they generate and produce the prolonged suffering of samsara. So that is obvious. Now, these asavas have been there for a very long time, and with each passing moment, our tendency to make them stronger is very high. So therefore, we tend to generate and produce the prolongation of the suffering in this long period of samsara. So the longer the asavas remain, the longer our journey in samsara would be. So now let's look at the asava, the intoxicants. So there are 4 asava. Kāmasava, intoxicant of sensual desire. Bhavasava, intoxicant of attachment to existence. Ditthāsava, intoxicant of wrong views. And avijjāsava, intoxicant of ignorance. Now the first 2, Kāmasava and Bhavasava, they are part and parcel of the Lobha Cetasika, the greed mental factor. Then Ditthāsava is Ditti Cetasika, or wrong view. Avijjāsava is Moha Cetasika, or ignorance. Now let's move on to the Āsavagocchakaṃ, or the intoxicants cluster. And there are 6 sets of couplets. The first is the Āsavagocchakaṃ, the intoxicant couplet, where the 2 terms are Āsavadhamma, states that are intoxicants, and no Āsavadhamma, states that are not intoxicants. Sāsavagocchakaṃ, the co-intoxicant couplet, Sāsavadhamma, states that have intoxicants, and Anāsavadhamma, states that do not have intoxicants. Then the third, Āsava sampayutta dukkhaṃ, associated with intoxicants couplet. Āsava sampayutta dhamma states associated with intoxicants, and Āsava vippayutta dhamma states dissociated from intoxicants. Then from the 4th until the 6th couplets, we have combinations between the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd couplets. So the 4th couplet is Āsava sāsava dukkhaṃ, intoxicant, co-intoxicant couplet. Āsava cheva dhamma sāsava cha, states that are both intoxicants and have intoxicants. Sāsava cheva dhamma nocha āsava, states that have intoxicants but are not intoxicants. Then the 5th couplet, Āsava sampayutta dukkhaṃ, intoxicant associated with intoxicants couplet. Āsava cheva dhamma āsava sampayutta cha, states that are both intoxicants and associated with intoxicants. Āsava sampayutta cheva dhamma nocha āsava, states that are associated with intoxicants but are not intoxicants. And finally, the sixth couplet, Āsavavipayutta Sāsavagocchakaṃ. Dissociated from intoxicants, co-intoxicant couplet. Āsavavipayutta Dhamma Sāsavapi. States that are dissociated from intoxicants but have intoxicants. Āsavavipayutta Dhamma Anāsavapi. States that are dissociated from intoxicants and do not have intoxicants. We'll first look at the description given in the Nikkepakhanda, the summary section for Āsavagocchakaṃ, states that are intoxicants or taints. Kathame Dhamma Āsava, which are the states that are intoxicants or taints? Chattaro Āsava, the four intoxicants. Kāmasavo, intoxicant of sensual desire. Bhavasavo, intoxicant of attachment to existence. Tittāsavo, intoxicant of wrong view. Avijjāsavo, intoxicant of ignorance. Now, next in the Nikkepakhanda, each of these four asavas are individually, separately described. Tatta katamo kāmasavo. What is the intoxicant of sensual desire? Yo kāmesu, with respect to sensual pleasures, that which is kāmacchando, sensual desire, kāmarago, sensual passion, kāmanandi, delighting in sensual pleasures, kāmatanha, sensual craving, kāmasineho, sensual fondness, Kama parilaho, sensual fever, or the burning that is induced by sensual pleasures. Kama mucha, sensual languishing or state of confusion. So the mind tends to become very confused, very overwhelmed due to these sensual pleasures. Kama ajjosana, devouring sensual pleasures. Ayam uchchati kāmasavo. This is called the intoxicant of sensual desire. Now we move on to bhavasavo. Tatta katamo bhavasavo. What is the intoxicant of attachment to existence? Yo bhavesu, with respect to attachment to existence, that which is bhavachando, desire, bhavarago, passion, bhavanandi, delighting in, bhavatanha, craving, bhavasineho, fondness, bhavaparilaho, the fever, bhavamucha, languishing or the state of confusion, bhavajjosana, devouring, which is felt concerning existence. So it's similar to the previous, but the term karma has been replaced by bhava in this instance. Ayam uchchati bhavasavo. This is called the intoxicant or the taint of attachment to existence. So basically the two terms are similar, only the karma has been replaced by bhava. That is because it is basically the same chetasika. It's lobha chetasika, but acting in two different ways. One is towards sensual pleasures, the other is with regards to attachment to existence. Now the third asava, ditthāsava. Tatta katamo ditthāsavo. What is the intoxicant of wrong view? Sassato lokotiva, to hold that the world is eternal. Asassato lokotiva, or that it is not eternal. Antava lokotiva, anantava lokotiva, to hold that the world is infinite or finite. Tang jīvaṃ, tang sarīranti va, that the living soul is the body. Anyam jīvaṃ, anyam sarīranti va, or that the living soul is a different thing from the body. Hoti tathagato parang maranati va, nahoti tathagato parang maranati va, hoti nacha hoti tathagata parang maranati va, neva hoti na hoti tathagato parang maranati va. Or that living beings exist after death, does not exist after death, or both exists and does not exist after death, or neither exists nor does not exist after death. Ya eva rupa ditti, this kind of view, ditti gataṃ, this walking in view, ditti gahanam, this jungle of view, ditti kantaro, wilderness of view, ditti visukāyikaṃ, disorder of view, ditti vipanditaṃ, scuffling of view, ditti saṅyojanam, the fetter of view, gaho patigaho, the grip and the tenacity of it, abhiniveso, the inclination towards it, paramaso, the being affected by it, pummaggo, this bypath, miccāpato, wrong path, miccattaṃ, wrongness, Tittayatana, this sectarianism, viparyasaggaho, the shiftiness of grasp, ayam uchati, Atthasāvo, this is called the taint of wrong view. Now this description is similar to the description given under Ditti in Dasanena Pahatabba. So this part is similar to what was given there, because here again we are talking about the Ditti Cetasika. Sabbāpi micchā ditti Atthasāvo. Moreover, the intoxicant of wrong view includes all wrong views. So basically it encompasses all wrong views within this Ditti Āsava. Now the final Āsava, Avijjāsava. Tatta katamo avijjāsavo. What is the intoxicant of ignorance? Dukkhe aññāna, dukkha samudaye aññāna, dukkha nirodhe aññāna, dukkha nirodhagāminya patipadāya aññāna. Lack of knowledge of suffering, of the origin of suffering, of the cessation of suffering, and of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. So basically we are talking about lack of knowledge in the Four Noble Truths. Pubbante aññānaṃ, aparante aññānaṃ, pubbanta aparante ñāna. Lack of knowledge of what has gone before, what is yet to come, and lack of knowledge of both past and the future. Ita paccayata paticca samuppannesu dhammesu aññāna. Lack of knowledge of phenomena dependent on conditions, or the lack of knowledge of phenomena arising from dependent co-arising, basically the paticca samuppada. Yang eva rupang, then there is aññāna, lack of knowledge, adassana, lack of insight, anabhisamayo, lack of understanding, ananubodho, lack of comprehension, asambodho, lack of enlightenment, appativedo, lack of penetration, asaṅgahana, lack of grasping, apariyogahana, lack of sounding, asamapekkana, lack of judgment, apaccavekkana, lack of reflection, apacchakaṃ, lack of perspicacity, tummejjaṃ, unwisdom, bālyam, childishness, asampajanya, obtuseness, moho, delusion, pamoho, the dullness that is stupidity, sammoho, obtuseness, avijja, ignorance, avijja ogo, the flood of ignorance, avijja yogo, the yoke of ignorance, avijja anusayo, the latent bias of ignorance, avijja pariyuttana, the being obsessed by ignorance, Avijjalangi, the barrier of ignorance. Moho akusala mula, illusion as an unwholesome root. Now, this description is the same description given under moho when we describe the hetu dhamma. Ayam uchati avijjasavo. This is called the intoxicant of ignorance. Ime dhamma asava. These states are intoxicants. So this final sentence is with reference to kamasava, bhavasava, dittasava, and avijjasava. So these four dhammas are the four asava. Now we move on to the commentary chapter, the Atthasālinī description of Āsavagocchakaṃ. Now here it is described in a slightly different way. Basically, it describes the four asava in terms of where they arise or in which kind of chitta cetasika chittuppada that they arise in. Kathame dhamma asava, which are the states that are intoxicants. Chattaro asava, the four intoxicants. Kamasavo, intoxicant of sensual desire. Bhavasavo, intoxicant of attachment to existence. Dittasavo, intoxicant of wrong view. And avijjasavo, intoxicant of ignorance. Kamasavo, attasu lobha sahagatesu chittuppadesu uppajjati. The intoxicant of sensual desire. The kamasava arises with the 8 risings of consciousness accompanied by greed. So, kamasava arises with all 8 lobha sahagata chitta. Bhavasavo chatusu dittigata vippayutta lobha sahagatesu chittuppadesu uppajjati. The intoxicant of attachment to existence, bhavasava, arises with the 4 risings of consciousness accompanied by greed, dissociated from wrong view. So the 4, dittigata vippayutta lobha chitta is where the bhavasava arises. Dittasavo, chatusu dittigata sampayuttesu chittuppadesu uppajjati. The intoxicant of wrong view arises with the 4 risings of consciousness accompanied by greed associated with wrong view. Now that is obvious. Dittasava has to arise in a ditti sahagata chitta. So dittasava arises in the 4 ditti sahagata lobha chitta. Avijjasavo sabbha kusalesu uppajjati. Intoxicant of ignorance, the avijjasava arises with all unwholesome states. So, all 12 unwholesome states, all 12 akusala arises together with avijjasava. Ime dhamma asava. These are the states that are intoxicants. No asava dhamma. Now we come to the second term, states that are not intoxicants. States other than these intoxicants are not intoxicants, no asava. So we said that there are 4 intoxicants. These 4 intoxicants are classified under 3 cetasika, that is lobha, ditthi and moha. So all other states which are apart from these 3 cetasika are called no asava, not intoxicants. We'll now look at the Nikkhepakhandam description. Kathame dhamma no asava, which are the states that are not intoxicants. Te dhamma tapetva, excluding those states. That means excluding the intoxicants. Avasesa kusala bhyakata. The remaining kusala, wholesome, akusala, unwholesome, abhyakata, indeterminate states. Belonging to kamavachara, sense sphere, Rupavachara, fine material sphere, Arupavachara, immaterial sphere, and Apariyapanna, unincluded sphere. Vedanakando, Peyalam, Vijnanakando. The four aggregates. So the four mental aggregates. Sabbancha Rupa, and all matter. Asankatacha Dhatu, and the unconditioned element. Ime Dhamma no Asava. These are the states that are not intoxicants. So here we have the mental states, that is Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana, the four aggregates belonging to the four planes of existence. And here we exclude the intoxicants. So all the remaining Dhamma taken here, the Rupa is spoken of separately, Nibbana is spoken of separate. So basically everything except for the Asavas are classified under no Asava Dhamma. Now let's look at the Atthasālinī description. Katame Dhamma no Asava. Which are the states that are not intoxicants? Tapetva Asave, excluding the intoxicants. Avasesaṃ akusala. Chatusu bhumisu kusala. Chatusu bhumisu vipako. Tisu bhumisu kiryabhyakataṃ. Now, in the previous one, the Tapetva Asava was the same. But now what they have done is the individual Akusala, Kusala, Vipaka and Kriya has been classified, mentioning how many bhumi each of them are classified under. So we have the remaining unwholesome states. Here it is not mentioned the bhumi because all unwholesome states are kamavachara. The wholesome states of the four planes of existence, resultants of the four planes of existence, and functional indeterminates of the three planes of existence. Rupancha, and matter, Nibbanancha, and the state of final deliverance. Ime Dhamma no Asava. These are the states that are not intoxicants. So the Dhammas, the analytical states under no Asava Dhamma, states that are not intoxicants, are the 12 akusala, the 12 unwholesome chitta, the 21 kusala chitta wholesome, the 36 vipaka chitta, resultants, the 20 kriya, functionals, 49 chetasika, mental factors, excluding lobha, ditthi and moha, 28 rupa, matter, and nibbana, state of final deliverance. So in summary, we have two terms under Āsavagocchakaṃ, intoxicant couplet. Āsava Dhamma states that are intoxicants, and no Āsava Dhamma states that are not intoxicants. Under the Āsava Dhamma, we got three chetasika, lobha, ditthi and moha. And under under no Āsava Dhamma, we got the remaining Dhammas. That means all 89 chitta, 49 chetasika, 28 rupa and nibbana. So if we are to classify them under Khandha Ayatana Dhatu Arya Satcha, the Āsava Dhamma are three chetasika, lobha, ditthi and moha. So these three chetasika fall under Sankhara Khandha, one aggregate. One base, Dhammayatana, one element, Dhamma Dhatu. Two noble truths. So how did it become two noble truths? We get Ditthi and Moha coming under Dukkha Arya Satcha and Lobha coming under Samudaya Satcha. Next we have the no Āsava Dhamma, states that are not intoxicants. So here these Dhammas are classified under all five aggregates. And we must mention here, when we are breaking it down, that Nibbana is outside the scope of the five aggregates. They are classified under 12 bases, Ayatana, 18 Dhatu, and 3 noble truths. So why is it 3? Because we don't have lobha here. Samudaya Satcha is not there. And it is also important to mention the dhammas that are outside the scope of the noble truths, which are the Magga Chitta and the remaining Chetasika, 28 Chetasika, and the Palachitta, and together with the 36 Chetasika, they are outside the scope of the noble truths. So with that, we come to the end of today's lesson. Now, however, regarding the 4 asavas, there is a lengthy description in the commentaries, which we will go into during our next lesson. And there is also a description regarding how the asavas are described in the suttas, how they are described in the Vinaya Pitaka, and we will see what these differences are like. And we will be able to learn more about these asavas during our next lesson. So now it's time for any questions. You can ask any questions if you have any.
现在呢有时间，大家如果有什么问题呢，想要提出来呢，欢迎大家可以提出问题。
Okay, Austin is raising his hand.
Doctor, hello. I had one, maybe I don't understand very well, but how is in the no asava, how are the 12 akusala present there? Because I was under the impression that akusala would have unwholesome, and unwholesome should not be with no asava. Because no asava should be wholesome. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little confused.
Okay, I think I get your question. Right. So what you want to know is basically why the 12 unwholesome chitta are classified under no asava. Is that your question?
Yes, because I was under the impression that no asava should be only wholesome if there's no asava present.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So basically now this couplet, what we are talking about is basically we are classifying certain dhammas under asava. What are asava and what are the dhammas which are not asava? So the asavas are the 3, lobha, ditthi and moha. So everything else will become no asava. So this doesn't mean that now the asavas rise together with the 12 akusala chitta. That is true. So they are defiled. They are not pure. But the question here, or the classification here, has got nothing to do whether something is pure or defiled. It is simply a classification to categorize the asavas and the dhammas which are not asavas, which is why the 12 akusala chitta as well as the other akusala chetasika are also classified under no asava. So we are not classifying the dhammas as defiled dhammas and pure dhammas. We are basically classifying the dhammas as asavas and not asavas.
Right, got it. So, I mean, just to clarify still a little further, I got your point, but so how is the akusala dhammas classified as no asavas?
Because they are not defined as asava. So we've mentioned that the asavas are dhammas that are being fermented over a long period of time and they become stronger with time. So those dhammas we have classified under 3 terms, that is lobha, ditthi and moha. So due to these lobha, ditthi, moha, of course, the 12 akusala chitta that arise together with them, because asavas can't exist on their own. They arise together with the chitta and the other chetasika. That is true. But here we are talking purely about asava and not asava. And I think you will understand this better when we start talking about the other couplets. For example, there is a couplet called Āsavagocchakaṃ and Anāsavagocchakaṃ. That is the second couplet. Then we have the third couplet, Āsava-sampayutta-dhamma, Āsava-vippayutta-dhamma. So in those two couplets, we are talking about the asavas that act together, or that, the dhammas that have asava, that is sasava dhamma. There we talk about the 12 akusala chitta and the other remaining chetasika. Then we have asava sampayutta dhamma, the dhammas that have, or the dhammas that are associated with asava. Again, we have the 12 akusala chitta and the accompanying akusala chetasika. So when we go down in the line in this Gocchaka, you will see how these asavas act with other akusala dhamma. But this first term is purely to classify what are the asava, what are not asava.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Yes. Doctor, can I clarify the sasava? This is
Sasava, anasava.
yeah. The sasava
Yes.
is I thought sasava means the dhamma that can be taken by asava as object.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
The dhammas that take asavas as their object.
Oh, okay. They can be taken by asava as object.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I elaborate further, now think of our hetu gocchaka. Sorry, hetu dukkhaṃ. We have hetu dhamma and na hetu dhamma. Under hetu dhamma, we classified the 6 roots. Under na hetu dhamma, we classified everything else. So even though the 6 roots arise together with the sahetuka chitta and the other chetasika, we still classified them as na hetu because they are not roots. So likewise, here again, we are taking the asavas and the dhammas which are not asavas. Okay, so this is actually a very important section to understand, because these asavas are basically what drags us down into this whole journey through sansara. Our sansaric journey depends, basically the length depends on these asavas. And especially with our modern way of living, the chances that we are dragged into this whole process is much, much higher. Even if we go to watch TV or watch something on YouTube, we tend to generate a lot of asavas rather than the opposite. So we need to make a very strong effort to bring ourselves out of this and to try and even if we can't eradicate them now, we should at least try to reduce the degree or the extent to which they arise. So this is important, especially when we talk about the Suttanta take regarding the asavas, especially the Sabbasava Sutta, Nibbedaka Sutta. So there we will be talking more about these asavas. Then again, in the Vinaya, how it is explained. So I think that section will be a very practical aspect in terms of coming out of this whole cycle of samsara. So our next lesson will be on the 14th of June. It is now time to share merits. I would like all of you to join me. Ākāsattā ca bhummattā devā nāgā mahittika puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiran rakkantu sāsanam. Chiran rakkantu desanam, chiran rakkantu mampara. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā puññātu. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā puññātu. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā puññātu. Imina punya kammena ame bala samagamo. Satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idam me punyang āsavakkaya vahang hotu. Idam me punyang nibbanasta paccayo hotu. Mama punya bhagam sabba sattanam vajeni. Sabbe me samam punya bhagam labantu. Buddha sasanam chiranti gatu. Buddha sasanam chiranti gatu. Buddha sasanam chiranti gatu. Sadhu sadhu.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu. Thank you,
Thank you, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Doctor. Sadhu.